can't get any words. Podcasts don't last, giving you the real talk, no holding back. Can't get any worse, we'll make you see. There's always a silver lining. We'll set you free, so join the movement. Let's change the game with the Can't Get Any Worse podcast.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Can't Get Any Worse podcast. UFC 312 breakdown. We're here, ladies and gentlemen. The UFC has touched back down in the land of Oz. And by God, do I wish I was going to be in attendance. But, bills and shit. Adult stuff, So until these UFC breakdowns start to blow up and we become the official sponsor of UFC Australia and we just get flown to every main event, this is what we've got to do, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're a bit like me, money's tight, you can't get to the UFC this weekend, you're like, what am I going to do to still feel like I'm part of the action? You're going to come here, you're going to listen to the Can't Get Any Worse podcast, you're going to listen to me pick some absolute dogs on the card, which I'm sure all you guys, you'll listen to it and you'll come back next week and go, what the fuck was all that shit? And hey, I've admitted before, I'm like, don't follow my don't follow my tips if you don't want to, okay? I've more or less said I pick every dog and I justify why there is a small chance that they can win. And by God, have I picked some fucking dogs on this card. So let's rip right into it. But before we do, let's touch on some gossip in the UFC world this week. So I think it's only fair we do a bit of a recap on last weekend's fight night, mainly due to the fact that I don't know. I don't want to say it, but old mate here sitting in this chair may have guessed the co-main and the main event correctly. And where were all the haters then? Where was everyone in my comments going, hey, what's going on here? You picked a couple of dogs and they paid off. So I don't want to say that I'm some sort of guru and you guys should put your paycheck on my picks this week, but I don't know. No, please don't do that. Like I've said in the past, I get very nervous when people tell me that they've bet on my picks. Please keep your money in your pocket and gamble responsibly. There we go. I said it, ladies and gentlemen. So bookies, which one of you is coming on board? I'll take any of you at this stage. And even if there's like an up-and-coming sports betting agency in Australia that maybe they do a couple of under-the-table deals, you know what I mean? And they want to jump on the ground floor of the Can't Get Any Worse podcast. Send me a DM. Let's get dirty together. But UFC, I don't even know what city it was in. Don't come at me again. I believe it was somewhere in the Middle East. But Israel Adesanya headlined the card, and I said it. I go, I'm a huge fan of Israel Adesanya, okay? It took me a while to jump on the train, I'll admit. And I believe I reckon I jumped on the Izzy train around the Kevin Gastelum fight, which was an absolute brutal war. If you want to watch one of the sickest UFC fights in history, holy fuck, my voice just broke out. Go back and watch that fight, and just watching those two bang for round after round, and then just Izzy standing there, I believe it was the last round, just standing there with a swollen face, just staring at Kevin Gastelum, saying, I'm prepared to die for this shit. Holy fuck, that is a scene from a movie. And that is when I was like, okay, I'm jumping on the Izzy bandwagon. And from then, he just went on a tear. He absolutely tore the UFC apart. He became one of their biggest superstars. And this is the worst part about becoming a fan of the UFC, is you become emotionally invested in all these fighters, right? And there comes a time in all of their careers where it's not clicking anymore. And it fucking sucks to say, but I think Izzy might almost be there. I think he's lost 3 of his last 4, it's absolutely sad scenes. And I said it, I go, look, Imavov is a fucking beast. If there is someone that can, I genuinely don't know why everyone was like not picking Imavov. Like he's a bit of a weapon. And to be fair, Izzy looked like prime Izzy in round number 1. And I was like, oh shit, here we go. Here comes the second coming of Israel Adesanya. And just didn't happen. Second round he got. So anyone that did jump on my tip for that, you're welcome. And then the question being thrown around this week, is it time for Izzy to hang up the gloves? And I don't know. Like I said, he's three losses from his last 4, and I don't know why, but deep down inside, I'm like, nah, it's too early to be like throwing that talk around. Even though if it was any other fighter, I'd probably be like, yep, wrap it up, get him out of the UFC. But I just feel like Izzy's got that stigma about him where, and this is my thought on the whole thing. Okay, I think he is going to step back. He's probably not going to chase a title anymore, and he's just going to pick off these big fights. Like if a big name goes, all right, Izzy, let's go. I feel like that's where he's at now. He won't be just fighting all these up-and-coming dogs like Imavov this weekend and just getting staunched. I feel like he's just going to, almost like the Conor McGregor route, except hopefully a bit more active than old Conor. Oh, but the co-main was Shara Bullet versus... Fuck, why didn't I write this down? Who did Shara Bullet fight? Oh, MVP. Holy shit, how did that slip my mind? I literally just wrote down the main event. What an idiot. But I came in, I said MVP's basically fighting for his career, and it wasn't an old school MVP performance. He just ground out the decision, but he still got the win. So, I mean, it had people talking about him, and to do that over the Pirate, pretty impressive stuff. So, that's all I got to say about last week's card. Other than you're welcome, I don't know what else to say, you know. The other big news this week in the fight world is Bryce Mitchell going on his Hitler rant. Jesus. If people thought having Bill Cosby in the background of your podcast was bad, you guys need to go and listen to Bryce Mitchell's podcast where he says, I wouldn't mind going fishing with Hitler. He seems like a nice bloke. What the fuck is that guy thinking? Now, the big thing in this is he's gone on all sorts of different tangents throughout his career, right? And Dana White has basically let him have a free reign. He's gone, all right, you're a crazy son of a bitch, but you go freedom of speech, motherfucker, basically. But this time he went too far, and Dana, he was on the front foot straight away. The very first thing he addressed at the press conference on the weekend was how insane Bryce Mitchell was. So, I don't know. We'll see what comes of that. There's no talk of him being cut or anything like that. But again, Nostradamus over here, I believe the UFC is going to sit down in their conference room this week and go, all right, who is the hardest fight ever for Bryce Mitchell? Let's pair him up and let's beat the fuck out of this guy, get him out of the UFC. That's just if I had to throw a dart. But that basically covers all the Real Housewives of the UFC this week. Let's rip in to what we're all here for, UFC 312 Sydney. Now, is it a gangbuster of a card? Look, it's not the greatest. It's not the greatest card. Is it a good mid-range pay-per-view that every Australian is going to pay for because it's just Australian after Australian on this card, doing the country proud? Yes, that is the exact card that we're looking at. Is it going to do well internationally? I'm not too sure. We'll wait to see numbers come out next week, but I, for one, am probably going to waste... How much are pay-per-views these days? It's like $69 or something. But yeah, I'll be sitting down. I'll be watching it. And let's start from the very first early prelim, as we do. Now, the early prelims are usually pretty fun because they're fighters that I don't really know too much about. But this week, we've got a couple of names that I know in here. So, if you guys want some good betting advice, stay tuned. I'm just pulling my laptop up here. All right. Now, we all know names are not my strong point, so let's butcher some names right now. We've got Hyun Sung Park. I pronounce that pretty well if I do say so myself. Versus, this is the tricky one, okay? Nyamjargal Tumendemberel. Definitely did not pronounce either his first name or last name correct. But anyway, these two are coming together in the flyweight division, and both of their records are pretty fucking impressive. Like, Park is 9-0, so an undefeated fighter, and then I don't know how to say the other guy's name, okay? So I'm just going to call him the Mongolian fighter. He is 8-1. So he's got one loss on his record, but I mean 8-1, that's still pretty fucking impressive. And they've both got pretty impressive finish rates as well. So if you want to go a little bit extra on top of my tip. Like, I've already picked the underdog in this fight, which is already outrageous. But if you want that little bit extra cherry on top, like say we've just got the rump steak for dinner, right? And you've gone, fuck, I wish I had a bit of extra cash for the mushroom sauce. If you want the mushroom sauce, go this little bit extra. So I've gone the Mongolian fighter, let's just say Nyamjargal, because his first name's easier to pronounce, at $2.90, which is insane value. He's got that one loss on his record, but I don't know. I still like the look of him, okay? So he's my pick. And if you want that little bit of mushroom sauce, go fight not to go the distance. That's my tip for that one. Next one. So this one I'm actually pretty excited about. This is in the lightweight division. And we've got a kid. Now, every now and then I say, I watch these Australian fighters come up in Eternal MMA and other Australian fight organisations. This one right here was another one that I watched. So... again, I'm going to fucking butcher his name, but Quillan Salkilld, right? He's a lightweight. This is in the lightweight division. He's up against an Indian fighter, Anshul Jubli. So Quillan is 7-1, which again, pretty impressive fucking record. And here's the coincidence thing. The Indian fighter is also 7-1. Now, pretty good record to match up against each other. Quillan basically blew the fuck up from the Contender Series the end of last year, got his UFC contract, and this is his first official UFC fight. So I think first official UFC fight in his home country of Australia, going up against a bit of a beast, I'm not going to lie, like same record, 7-1. I've got to go with Quillan. So he's only paying $1.17, which I wish the bookies had him a little bit extra, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. But I am keen to see what he can do on a big fight card. See if he can throw down. The next one is... Hang on. I'm just trying to get my screen to line up. I might just look at my picks down here on this screen. I've got them up there as well, but we're not going to do that, all right? It's just easier just to look down here. And I'm sorry if I'm not making eye contact with you guys on the camera. Just pretend I'm even more autistic than I normally am. So, next one. On the early prelims, we've got a welterweight fight. Jonathan Micallef, who's the Australian... he's going up against Kevin Jousset or something. So Micallef is another one that's made his way through the Contender Series path, which, I don't know, if you're an Australian fighter these days, it seems to be the easiest path. Not that it's an easy path to the UFC, but it just seems that Dana seems to be giving a lot of Australians an opportunity through the Contender Series. So I think this is also his official UFC debut since the Contender Series. So he's going up against... I've actually seen this guy fight before, and he's pretty fucking good. He's going up against a New Zealand fighter, Kevin Jousset, or however you say his name. Don't fucking come at me. Now, the crazy thing here, Micallef is 7-1, and Jousset is 10-3. So, I mean... Still both pretty impressive records, but they've got Micallef at $2.89, which I see as major value. So that's my pick for this one. Again, I'm going the Aussie fighter. If you guys see a trend coming, I've more or less picked every Aussie on the card just to spoil it all, but I think you've got to. It's fucking un-Australian not to, but that value is crazy. Now, the last fight to wrap up the early prelims, we've got Kody Steele versus the UFC's version of Madonna. This guy doesn't have a last name or anything. His name is just Rongzhu. So I originally, I was like, fuck, one name. That's insane. Like the whole Superbad scene. One name? Who the fuck has one name? I was like, that's my man. Then I dug a little bit deeper. He's 25-6. Now, that's a lot of fights with a fair amount of losses. So once I started looking into it, I'm like, oh, okay, this guy might be on the back end of his career. And that is not throwing any shade at Rongzhu. Appreciate everything you've done for the sport. But I'm going to go the young gun, Kody Steele. Once I saw his record, he's an undefeated lightweight at 7-0. Just screams value, you know what I mean? But then I looked at the odds, little less value than I'd like, $1.45. So safe bet. Maybe you could, here's a multi on the run. I didn't even have this down, but if you go Kody Steele, where the fuck is my mouse? Kody Steele and Quillan, you might get value of maybe $1.80-ish, possibly, depending what bookie you use. But let's rip into the prelims. We've got, okay, this one I'm actually pretty interested in as well, only because of the backstory. Now, we've got Colby Thicknesse versus Aleksandre Topuria. That's right, a Topuria. If you guys are like, where the fuck have I heard that name before? It is because his younger brother is now the lightweight champion. So, little bit of Real Housewives of UFC again with this card. Colby Thicknesse, or again, it could be fucking incorrect. It could be Thicknesse or Thicknesse. I don't know how to pronounce it. He fights out of Alexander Volkanovski's gym, right? Australian GOAT. I've sucked his dick so many times on this podcast. It's not funny. So, Volk is going to be in his corner this weekend. Like I said, the Topuria brother is obviously brothers with Ilia Topuria. And now Ilia is going to be in his corner. So it's a battle of the cornermen that now both want to fight each other for the strap. So that's purely, don't get me wrong, it's going to be a sick fight. But yeah, I had a couple of notes here. What have I got? Oh yeah, so let's get to the odds. So Colby Thicknesse is 7-0. This will be his UFC debut. So that's the other cool thing. There's a couple of Aussies debuting on here with ridiculous odds against him. Now, I would jump on at the ground level just to get on some of these odds. He's my pick for this fight purely because of the Volkanovski factor. He's paying $4.20, which, I don't know, it's pretty nuts. Do I think, is it a lock? No, it's definitely not a lock. So do not dabble on this unless you've got the money to throw around. But $4.20 purely for the story behind this fight. I'm going to throw a sneaky $2.50 on that fight. That is how outrageous and confident I am in my pick. I will be putting a full $2.50 on that fight. So if you guys want to follow along, be my guest. We go into our first women's fight after that. Now, if you want to hear the coolest name on this entire card, you're about to hear it, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't think I'm going to have any issues in pronouncing this one. We have Chinese fighter Wang Kong. Yep, that is correct. Wang Kong versus Bruna Brazil. She's got a country as a last name. That just means loss in my mind. I don't know if you guys need any other facts behind that. But yeah, I'm purely going Wang Kong because of her name. But Wang Kong's also 6-1. The other fight is 10-4. So I don't know. I don't see her winning, but stranger things have happened, especially in the women's division. Sometimes it can be an off night for some of them. So Wang Kong only paying $1.20. Again, avoid it if you don't have any extra money. Now this one, pretty excited about. A Queensland fighter, Tom Nolan. I think his nickname's like Big Train or something to do with train, steam train. I don't know. But yeah, Tom Nolan is taken on, let's butcher the fuck out of this, Vyacheslav Borshev. Now, oh, hang on. I fucking wrote his nickname down here. Big Train. There we go. He's 8-1 and he's won 2 since his UFC debut. So he's going for his 3rd win in a row since joining the UFC. I think he's going to want to make a huge impression in front of Dana, in his home country, in front of a giant crowd in Sydney. And he's going up against a Russian fighter, which, again, I don't understand these odds. This Russian dude is 8-4. Yes, Russians are overtaking the whole MMA scene at the moment. But to have Tom Nolan at $2.18, major value. Major value. This, we'll get to my picks at the end, but that is a lock. Tom Nolan at $2.18, insane. You have to put that in your multi. The next one we got, one of my favorite fighters coming up, okay? This guy, you guys know how I talk sometimes. I don't jump on bandwagons early. A lot of the time I hate on them a little bit, and then I'm like, all right, let's ride, baby. Let's get on that bandwagon. And this one, I was on this one pretty early, but Jack Jenkins, another Australian fighter, up against Gabriel Santos. So featherweight division, Jenkins is 13-1 and Santos is 11-2. Both pretty similar records. So I genuinely think this is going to be a sick fight to wrap up the prelims with. What have I got here? And okay. So this is the first ranked opponent that Jenkins will be fighting. So if he wins this, he'll enter the ranks and he's just going to start that chase for the title, which fingers crossed, hey, like Jenkins is coming off a bit of an injury recently. I think this is his first fight since the injury. I believe I should have wrote this down. Wrote this down? Holy shit, terrible English. I believe it was like a shoulder injury or somewhere around that area. I remember seeing him in a sling or something. But yeah, Jack Jenkins, again, the underdog. All the Aussies are the fucking underdogs on this card, and that's just where we like to be, ladies and gentlemen. We like to be the underdogs. We like to come out and just fucking pound these guys into the ground. So Jack Jenkins at $2.86. Again, major fucking value. Jack Jenkins is going to be on such a high. He's got everything to work for in front of a home crowd. It's a lock. It's a lock. Lock it in. Then main card, ladies and gentlemen. You know what's insane? Everything up until now is absolutely free. Free for you guys to watch. These last 5 fights are the ones you've got to pay for. And look, this is definitely not going to... I'd started the podcast and I was like, I want to be Australia. I want to be Australia's official UFC podcast. And now I'm about to say, if I had to pay for any of these fights, I'd probably only pay for one, and that's the main event. Don't get me wrong. I fucking love 3 of the fighters on this main card. Let's go through them. So it kicks off with Jake Matthews. Again, one of my favorites back in the day. He seems to be on the back end of his career, and I believe I've seen interviews of him even saying that. So he's a veteran of the UFC. He's 20-7, so 20 wins, 7 losses. And if he gets this win, it'll be the first time he's had 2 wins in a row since 2020, which less than ideal, you know what I mean? He's taken on Francisco Prado, who's 12-2, who just seems like an absolute fucking up and coming. Like, I'm looking at him now on the screen. He's probably the most handsome dude on the card. If there was any UFC fighter on this entire card that I had to turn for, it's probably going to be Francisco. Sorry to my wife. It is what it is, you know what I mean? So Jake Matthews, what do we got here? Oh yeah, so Prado is 1-2 in his last 3 fights. So he's lost 2 of his last 3 fights. And I am hoping that is enough for Jake Matthews to get back on the bandwagon and just have one last push. Whether or not his head is in it, like the fact that we've heard him throw around potentially retiring, I believe, I don't know if it was his last fight or the one after, he took his gloves off in the octagon as if he was about to retire. And he may have even had like a brief retirement stint. Don't remember off the top of my head. But let's go Jake Matthews at $1.44. I fucking hope he can get it done and just, turn the odds back around in his favour. Actually, he's the favourite, so shut the fuck up. Next one, Jimmy Crute. Another one of my favourite. Absolute Australian fucking weapon. Just gets in there, gets it done. He is... Oh, shit. Hang on. I put the wrong fucking info there. What an idiot. I didn't write this one out correctly. Luckily, I got the odds right because I wrote them next to his name. He's versing Rodolfo Bilardo, who, because I don't have their records down here, let's click on it up here. Now, Rodolfo does look like a fucking beast of a man. I'm not going to lie. Oh, shit. Battle of the Tats, this fight. Okay, here we go. 12-2 is Rodolfo, and 12-4 is Jimmy Crute. So, I don't know, like, I stay away from this pick, okay? I'm not confident in this. I'm purely picking Jimmy Crute because of the Australian factor and because he has that kind of mongrel deep down inside of him that he'll just go in there and he'll swing in all hopes to get it done. He's paying $1.31, but looking at Rodolfo and looking at his how did I just blank on that? His record. My Lord, what is going on with my brain today? It's been a big day at work, ladies and gentlemen. Deep down, I think Rodolfo will get that done, but fingers crossed. Jimmy Crude at $2.31. Good odds, ladies and gentlemen. Now, here we go. The banger of the card. If you want to see a couple of heavyweights swing for the fences, this is it, ladies and gentlemen. One of my favourites, again, sucked his dick multiple times on the podcast. Seen him at my local Macca's before. We've got the Logan City King, Justin Tafa, up against Talison Teixeira, I think it is. So he's a Brazilian fighter, and the sketchy part about this, he's undefeated. He's 7-0. He came through the Contender Series as well, and now he's coming up against one of my favourite blokes, Justin Tafa, whose record is a little less impressive. We just have to go out there and admit that. He's 7-4. So 7 wins, 4 losses. But he's got that Logan City dog in him, you know what I mean? And if there's one thing Justin Tafa can do, it is bite down on that mouth guard and swing for the grandstands. And if he clips this guy with one punch, God, the arena is going to go nuts. Justin Tafa is a bit of a weapon at a one-punch knockout. We've all seen him do it multiple times before. And my God, I would love to see that this Sunday. The other thing I don't really like about Teixeira is he's got a spider tattooed on his chest. Kind of lame if you ask me. But I can't in my right mind pick against Justin Tafa. He's paying $2.25. I genuinely thought the odds were going to be bigger than that. Purely because of the other guy being an undefeated fighter. I don't... you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Nah, I'm not going to do it. I was thinking about putting Justin Tafa in my guaranteed picks, but you can never put a heavyweight in your guaranteed picks. It's an unwritten law, you know what I mean? So Justin Tafa at $2.15. Have a bit of a dabble, ladies and gentlemen. Now we get into the co-main. Our first title fight, Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez. Now, Suarez is coming off an injury. This is her first fight since an injury about halfway through last year. And look, I'm on the Zhang Weili train. Ever since I saw her do what she did to Joanna back in the day, I've been like, holy shit, this Chinese lady is insane. Now, the surprising thing to me is Tatiana is actually the favorite in this fight. Weili is paying $2, which seems like insane odds to me. She's the champion. She's proven herself time and time again. Yes, she's had some losses, but she's always come back from it. She's reclaimed the title again. I don't know why Zhang would be $2. I just do not see it. Could be wrong, but that's my pick. Is it going to be the most exciting fight in UFC history? I don't think so, but those sometimes can be the most exciting ones, the most unexpected ones. So stay tuned for that one. Potentially have a toilet break because the main event is an absolute banger. Now, this is the one that everyone's paying for. It's the rematch. Dricus du Plessis, who's the champion, up against Sean Strickland. Now, at first, I was a little bit sketchy that the main event and the co-main did not involve any Australians, with it being an Australian card. Have I come around on that idea now? And I've gone, okay, this is going to be an absolutely insane fight after rewatching their last fight, which was a 5-round banger of them just slugging at each other. Now, Dricus got the decision in that, took the title. And since then, not even since then, so since Dricus fought Israel Adesanya the first time and won, that was the first fight he'd had since his nasal surgery. And it was this big myth that like he would always get out of steam so early into fights, and he'd always blame like his breathing and stuff. And everyone's like, shut the fuck up. You're a liar. You're just shit at cardio. He went and got this nose surgery. He finally worked his way back up the ranks, fought the champion in Israel Adesanya, and absolutely put a clinic on his ass. Won the title, and ever since then, his cardio has been insane. So the dude wasn't lying. He must have had major nasal issues. He's cleared all that up. He's now the champion who, in my mind, looks unstoppable. Now, in saying that, Sean Strickland is an absolute weapon in his own right. He doesn't give a fuck what is going on, right? He just wants to win. He wants his title back. Drickus took it off him, but I don't know. I do not see it happening. The only thing that I do see in Strickland's favour, is this is the exact same arena that Strickland took the title off Israel Adesanya last year. So could there be a bit of good luck in that case? Potentially. But from a purely fighting point of view and a tipping point of view, I can't go past Drickus. I've got to pick Drickus du Plessis to win this. Holy fuck, I'm getting a heap of messages and it's distracting the fuck out of me. But yeah, that has to be my pick for the main event. So my guaranteed picks for UFC 312 Sydney this week. Now take all of these as singles because I've picked some absolute fucking dogs for you guys, as I said. I'm going Tom Nolan at $2.18, Jack Jenkins at $2.86, Zhang Weili at $2, and Drickus at $1.50. Those are my guaranteed picks. If they don't come true, fucking come at me, guys. Let's go. I'll meet you in the car park of Kudos Arena, and we will bang it out just like Logan City's own Justin Tafa. But other than that, guys, that pretty much wraps up my UFC 312 breakdown. Couple of shows coming up. Unfortunately, they're all sold out, but I'm just going to fucking plug them anyway and wedge them into your ear holes because I'm fucking glad that we did it. We all got there in the end. The Orion Hotel this Friday, the 7th of Feb, sold out. Absolute packed function room at that place this Friday. The next one, Sunny's at Margate, 22nd of Feb, again. Bang, sold out. So appreciate anyone that is coming to those shows. Look forward to seeing you guys there. Go back, listen to Tuesday's episode. I think it was an absolute banger with some hilarious stories on there. And if you've got anything you'd like to add to the shows, anything you think could spruce up these episodes a little bit better, maybe some clips or something, I don't know. Chat to me, guys. Send me submissions on Instagram via DM. Send me an email at can'tgetanyworse.pod at gmail.com, or call me on 0433. Haha, tricked yous. I'm not giving out my fucking phone number. But anyway, appreciate you guys tuning in. Enjoy the fights this week, and I will see you later.